Every time you're watching, and especially if you're watching live, welcome to LMC Live. And today, it's Sunday. Just wanted to try something a little bit different. So my career is IT. I'm a systems administrator, more of a generalist than a specialist, although my specialty once upon a time was Microsoft Exchange and Unified Communications when everything was inside of Exchange. And a particularly good and memorable time during it in the career of that career was when Dell had released the Latitude E series of laptop, the first and second generations, the E64 and 6500, the E64 and 6510. It was this kind of sleek design, although very thick laptop compared to today's standards, where the Dell laptop 5400 I have might be half the size of this. Just thought it was very sleek, very nice looking. You could get it in three colors when got them at the time. Could get it in a blue, a red, and a brushed aluminum. So that particular model that we got at the time, we got the second highest resolution screen, the WXGA Plus, I believe. 4 gigs of RAM, some form of Core 2 dual processor. It had the Super Drive, it had the security subsystem, the fingerprint reader. Although at that point, I had also bought for myself personally, although this isn't the one I'm going to show you in a second, a red one. Had a red one. And noticed somebody in the computer reset buy and sell forum buys and trades laptops, and I happened to notice that they did have a red one, which I had sold mine years ago. And of course, you're not going to find yours, although sometimes you do. And I thought it was complete in the sense that it was only missing one or two things, but when it finally came, found it was missing just about everything. So, really not useful to me in that regard, other than looking up the spec sheet, because this is one reason why I like buying Dell computers, used Dell computers, versus HP's or Lenovo's. If you have the service tag of the computer, which you can usually find on the back or the bottom, you can go on to Dell's support website and it will give you the system specifications as it shipped from the factory. And assuming assuming that nobody has really changed it in that time, that what you're buying will be that specification. So we're just going to go into the system setup of this blue E6500 just so we can verify what the processor is in this thing. It's a P8400 at 2.26 gigahertz. Okay, great. Now, when I punched in the spec, the service tag for this red one, it's a newer E6500 because it has a Windows 7 sticker versus a Windows Vista, and I believe it came with a much faster processor. Although I don't think it's going to power on. Okay, Google, turn office light off. Okay, that helps a little bit. Not interested in any of that, of course. Didn't expect anything. So just want to check system information. Okay, the processor in here is a P8700. I thought it was actually a T series processor, but that's okay. Can't have everything, right? All right. Might really not be worth it. 1440 by 900. Yeah, okay. Thinking we're going to take the processor out of here and out of this red one and put it into the blue one. So we're going to go through that, and that's going to be today's really kind of rambly live stream. I do have some thermal paste that I found. Don't have to worry about thermal paste. We've got a lifetime supply of rubbing alcohol. So let's go ahead and get that party started. We'll move the camera around. This is one of these days. This is we'll actually get this place cleaned up. Where we can do these kind of things. So, all right. We're going to take, take the heat sink off of here. Of course, I don't remember. One is, I think, CPU is right there, and the NVIDIA video is right there. So, bear with me. Just going to double check and find the stuff I need, and we can, actually, what I was looking for was right here. Some Arctic Silver Ceramic 2 thermal paste, and we can get started. Just got to go grab the new toolkit. Okay. Now, as for tools, I am a big fan of the iFixit toolkits. Of course, check out their website, ifixit.com. Of course, if you're watching this sort of content, you've probably been there and done that. The only thing that I kind of feel is a drawback is if there's something you need right away, you got to wait for them. You've got to order it. You've got to wait for them to ship it. Where the Hyper Tough brand make of tools that you can get at Walmart, they have electronics repair kits of several different varieties. They seem to they work. If you need something in a jam, you don't have to go to iFixit, although I do recommend their stuff. So that's what I'm using. I've got a HyperTough 77-piece electronic repair kit. Works fine. So we're going to take the heatsink off of here. Change out the processor. See if we can move it into the blue 6500 without killing it. That part's all set. might actually have to take the CPU fan out of here in order to get this to come out. Not a big deal. Now, some people have a lot of room, a lot of storage that they can keep just about every piece of vintage technology, older technology they want. I'm a little bit limited in doing that. So I've kind of made a decision that I'm really going to cut back on the late era stuff. Only going to keep one mid 2000s machine and going to get rid of everything else. Some of the stuff, check out the Patreon page. I'm going to post it there, what will be available. Some of it will actually be free. The only thing you have to arrange is shipping. And what I mean by that is we have a UPS store. Oops. And if there's anything you want, you just can call them up and arrange shipping with them, and ship it to you. All right, so we can get to the CPU now. Just need to get some rubbing alcohol, which I know there's plenty around here. Over the pandemic, I ended up getting gallons of the stuff, just to be on the safe side. Thought I had more regular sized bottles of either 70% or 90% alcohol. I mean, when you're dealing with electronics, especially if you're doing it as a career, can never hurt to have too much of that stuff. But apparently I can't find the regular sized bottle, so we're gonna go heavy duty and take care of that stuff. So, all right, let's clean off the CPU here. And wow, I mean, just the fact that it's really dried on says a lot. Oops. Yeah, I should take it out of this machine, but after we get the processor out of here, this Dell laptop isn't really going to be very useful to me. So if anybody needs a spare 6500 chassis, okay. So I've got that cleaned up, and unfortunately, when I take this new CPU and I put it in the blue 6500, I'm also going to have to reapply some new thermal paste to the video chipset, but I think that would be a good idea anyway. So let's take this and we'll trade spots. And we'll get the take the battery out of the blue 6500. And we'll take the cover off, the back cover. All right. So, same thing applies to this one. We'll have to take the CPU cooling fan. Although, actually, you know what? If you do this right, won't have to redo the thermal paste for the video. Because it won't have to move that heatsink. But it would probably be a good idea, since this system is 14 years old. And the conductive qualities of thermal paste, of course, degrade over time. And, you know, that's why sometimes, you know, a computer you bought might be very quiet that first couple of years. And then as time goes on, it gets louder and louder because the CPU fans need to, or at least your processor is reporting to the computer that it's a lot hotter than it might actually be, because that thermal paste can't transfer that heat out of the computer like it used to be. And it's not very difficult to do this, to get to get to the processor, clean that off, apply some fresh thermal compound, thermal paste, and here's the P8700. Going to go ahead and secure it into the socket. Just going to give it one more wipe down to get my fingerprints and any oil from my skin off of there, because that's not a good thing either. We'll open up the tube of thermal compound. And apply some up there. You don't want it too much. You do want to cover the whole surface of the die. That's the silver part there. And sometimes you do get a little more than you want. Oh. Okay. Didn't realize this also did the chipset. So we'll have to might actually leave that on there. Hopefully that won't be a big deal. But the other thing I just noticed is, now that I've got got this out of here is there is a significant amount of crud in the heatsink, and I don't have an air compressor, but do have a very powerful vacuum. So I'll be back in just a moment with hopefully a cleaned out heatsink. Okay, so we ended up sucking out all the crud that had built up into the heatsink. There's a little bit more in there. We'll get some compressed air for future, so we can do these sort of things without having to go and use the vacuum on it. And of course, we'll get all this. Whoops. Let's just take a look here. We can cheat, and both both of these heat sinks are pretty dirty. I think can get everything out of there, and just want to make sure all the thermal compound is off, because you don't need it. I mean, some people might think that you can never have too much. Okay. So, all right. So I do got the thermal compound on the CPU. We've got I think it's on there the way it's supposed to be. Now we're going to tighten it up. I like to do alternating screws. The CPU fan isn't that dirty. So let's get it screwed back in here. Does not. Doesn't want to be sitting in there like it's supposed to. I'll try it again. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to plug it in and we're going to run some diagnostics. And I can see where my problem is. Mounting just a little bit off that I can't get the other screws to, there we go. Get in there how I'd like. Oops. Now, because of the different length of the screws, if you can't remember or have a hard time remembering, like I do, you may want to get one of those trays. You can get those from iFixit. They do not carry those at Walmart or Target. Okay. That's beautiful. So just let me shuffle some more stuff around. We'll get the cover back on this. And run some diagnostics. And if you can't figure out from the clock, the local time is just turned now to 11 a.m. Let's see what happens. F12 to get the one-time boot menu, and then we'll run some diagnostics. So it does detect the new processor like it's supposed to, P87 at 2.53. run diagnostics. And if it passes this set of built-in diagnostics, going to assume that all was well in this processor transplant. And I'm pretty much thinking so. I'm not gonna bore you with this really long memory test. So thanks for joining me in this live stream where we upgrade the processor on the Latitude E65 laptop, and we'll hope to see you in the next video.